Hello, students. I'm Emery Barber. I've been with Southwire for 30 years now. I'm a graduate of used to be Southern Polytechnic State University. It's now part of Kennesaw State University. I've been in engineering and operations with Southwire now for 30 years. I'm currently the Vice President of Engineering for Southwire. And I want to come to you today to talk about opportunities in engineering at Southwire Company. Now, why would you be interested in going into the field of engineering? If you like to solve problems, you want to make a difference, you just look around the room you're in, all those things, how were engineers involved in the things that you see around you: cars, houses, tools, equipment, computers, monitors, all those various things. If you looked at our top 10 engineering challenges, this comes from a website around engineering challenges, and I won't read through all of those, but some of the, making solar energy more economical. Today we're about, a real good solar panel is a little bit above 20%. Making those more economical would be good for our sustainability and good for the environment. Control carbon dioxide, keeping that out of the carbon capture, doing things around carbon dioxide, managing the nitrogen cycle, providing access to clean water. There's still a lot of the world population that doesn't have clean drinking water. And then cyberspace, security there is personal information. You've probably heard a lot about that, about breaches, people's personal information getting shared on the web. Urban infrastructure, that's redesigning our community infrastructure, looking at water, sewer, power grids, health information systems. How to new systems of collecting that information, storing data, and securing it on the networks. Engineering better medicines, in the biomedical field, better systems to assess patients' health, genetic profile, and how do we get there? I think a COVID vaccine is a really good example of that. If you look at how quickly that was brought from a concept and the need to have that, and all the approvals that those various vaccines went through. Nuclear terror, that's another area. Where's all the nuclear material around the world, tracking that, securing it, cradle to grave, really. And then one that we deal with is really called a digital twin. And what is a digital twin? Well, that's a virtual environment where you have a machine that's set up in a virtual environment, and you can test products on that machine in that virtual environment to learn about, the design principles, safety, ergonomics, output, how to maintain that machine, and a lot of other things that go with that. So, types of engineers found at Southwire. I'm a mechanical engineer by trade, but we have industrial engineers. We have electrical, chemical, polymer, metallurgical, environmental, and civil that work at Southwire. So what do mechanical engineers do? Well, from an operations standpoint, we design equipment, machines, to be more efficient, reduce costs, scrap. We work on process changes, process design. We install equipment and how to maintain that equipment. And are there things that need to be changed on equipment to improve that maintenance cycle? And if you looked on the customer-facing side, that's really around new product development and design, process development and design. And then we support our products in the field with our customer base. Industrial engineers, it's really around how do we, time studies around manufacturing cycle times, cost calculations, flow, efficiency, write-ups about how to get capital and what will that capital do, what kind of rate of return that generates. And industrial engineers also get involved with how fast machines are supposed to run, what are their rates, speeds, feeds, and what does that translate into from a product cost perspective. And business management, they support our plants. They work in the material side, inventory, and then around our business segments. If we looked at electrical engineers, they're designed in how to get power, safely from the substation to the equipment, get it from the power grid into the plant. How do we do that safely? That's the power side of things. If you're more interested in the programmable logic controller side, which is the PLC side, the computer, the brain, if you will, that controls the production lines, we have groups that do that. Programming for motors, applications there. On the sales support side, when you look at an applications engineer, that's really working with the standards in the industry. What's the appropriate product for the application, and how do we support that, and then what are those benefits to the customer? So that's what electrical engineers do. Chemical polymer engineers, they're working around new compounds. There may be a new application or a new need. Cost is always a big driver. How do we drive cost out of that compound? Are there things that we can change? Are there nanotechnology that we could employ to reduce the cost or make a polymer better? We also test polymers to make sure they meet the applicable standards. We do some failure analysis in this engineering category. And then what processes do we really need in place that allow us to process these polymers in a more effective manner? We look at metallurgical engineers. They support our rod mills where we make copper and aluminum. We're vertically integrated into copper and aluminum. So we're taking molten copper, molten aluminum, and we're forming that into a rod, and then we use that for subsequent operations. They also work on aluminum alloys. There's alloying elements that can change the properties of aluminum and make it stronger, make it more carry more current, things like that. Drawing machine problem solving, that's a downstream operation. Forensic analysis, they get involved with that, both internally and externally. What caused a particular failure? We do a lot of failure analysis. Environmental, that's really around the environment, making sure we meet the various regulations at a state, a federal, state, and a local level. Permitting for new equipment, compliance procedures, and they provide a lot of leadership for us around, in case we do have a spill or we have an issue in a plant, they get involved, they help us with that corrective action and also the preventive action. Civil engineers, basically around the design, plant expansion design, project management of that. They also were involved in our high voltage cable infrastructure design. There's things that we have to do when we put cable in the ground. We have to design structures, and we employ civil engineers in that area. And structural analysis, we get them involved in building design and evaluating structures to make sure they will meet seismic loading or meet wind loading, or maybe we have to We have to have caissons to support a tower or things like that need to be done. They do that structural analysis for us. So what do you do to prepare? You know, when you're in high school, when you're in middle school, preparing for that. You know, you take the appropriate classes when you get into high school. Maybe it's an engineering pathway, maybe it's a STEM pathway. Your GPA is important. It's one of those price of admissions. Test scores, that's another admission criteria. You know, we look for people that have activities outside of just academia. And then applying for and selecting a college that you want to attend. And then soft skills, you know, these are things that we look for. You know, you got to be in attendance. If you're not here to do the job, then the job doesn't get done. Attitude goes a long way. Skill, communication, teamwork, responsibility, work ethic, and then integrity and honesty. You know, living up to the values that we have as a company. And then if you select in a college, I just put several of these on there. There's a lot of them in Georgia. There's some in Alabama as well. We try to mention those. We have people at Southwire from a variety of schools. And it's just, I put in the Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee area, but there are colleges outside of that, all around the country. I think you pick a program that you know where you want to go and what you want to achieve in that program, and that's how you get set up and where you want to go. So I want to thank you for your time today. We at Southwire are available. Should you have questions about any more questions about the engineering pathways that we have and the engineering disciplines that are we have at Southwire Company. And thanks again.